Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Trader Merlin Show. It is your weekend edition, the Trading Week wrap-up, as was voiced here. I hope you all had a fantastic week as well. Fantastic. Yeah, I see people talking about the crowns. It's all about participation. I actually took screenshots yesterday, and I was trying to think of, like, could I make a prize? Because yesterday we had, who was the leader yesterday? I'll bring it up here just so I can show you guys. Mr. Wolf, you were the leader yesterday. Here is the leaderboard. And I'll zoom in there. So Mr. Wolf was first place yesterday. Chad PM was second. And Big Oliver, you were third place. Although it gave you guys the same amount of experience points, 75 points there. So I don't know how it's grading it. But anyway, let's dive into our topic for today, which is the Trading Week wrap-up. There is so much to talk about. I'll start off with going through our monthly results. I always like to look and see what happened over the course of a month, how things change, how they... at least transpired, right? Because we have this mantra over our heads that says, sell in May and go away. With that in mind, this is a pretty darn good month. Like, if you really had a sell in May and go away mentality, you probably lost money, right? You were going against the curve. So let me bring up our list here. Yeah, and I'm sorry for the late start. The reason I had the late start is I wanted to show you not the April results. I was scrambling to get things done here, but our May results for the market. And by the way, these May results, fantastic. It actually is one of the best performing S&P 500 months in 30 years. This May is one of the best ones. So let's see what those numbers were. We'll start at the bottom, work our way up to the top, and of course I'll dance through it as we go. Obviously, the weakening dollar is helping these markets we saw for the month, and I'll start with the monthly chart. Your dollar index, actually, while it's interesting that it's down just 0.2%, what's more important is it's slowing down, right? It's coming right back down into that area of demand. At the bottom, we talked about that $98 mark. So right around there, expected it to bounce. And at least the bloodletting, if you will, over the past 4 months has slowed down significantly. So that's a good sign for anybody who's bullish on that dollar. But right now, just hovering there, only down 0.2 for the month. Now, if we look at this on a daily basis, a little bit of a different picture, right? We've got most of the month of May has really been in a short, compressed area, and we're ending near lower lows. So, okay, fine. Now let's go to gold. Now, gold was actually positive for the month, and then just in the last, just today, teetering back into negative territory. Unfortunately, because it dropped 0.86%. So here is your gold chart. And you can see really same thing as the dollar. Lots of swings, but ultimately, I'll call it unchanged. In my opinion, gold was unchanged for the month, so not that big of a deal. The bigger picture here is, what's going on with the power and the trend of gold, right? Looking at this chart, what does it tell us? Well, it tells us that the big trend is over, and at least it's starting to lose a little bit of steam. Now, it may have some big moves for sure, but the chop we've seen since late April through today is just showing you indecision and people really reflecting that by buying into gold or getting out of it based off of Trump's comments, the risk on, risk off, etc. So that was your number 7. And before I get to number 6, I've skipped the last couple weeks because I've had some medication for my back, but I don't have medication today, which means the glass of whiskey will be poured today. So cheers, everybody. Happy Friday. I hope you do something absolutely fantastic this week and have some fun. And let's get going. But in case you're wondering, I'm drinking Pierside today. This is from Huntington Beach, California. Pierside. It's okay. Not the best, but it's all right. Try to get rid of some of the bottles I got in my closet. All right, next on our list as I move on here. Kenny says, the sell only applies to UNH. Sorry, Merlin. It's okay. I'm all right with it. I will tell you about my trades, how they concluded today. Well, it didn't conclude, but some of my trades, at least actually all 3 of those positions, SMCI, MicroStrategy, and United Health, I sold cover calls against those today. Collected quite a nice chunk of premium. So fine with me. Not too concerned about it. We'll see what happens next week. All right, moving on to number 6 on our list. Crude oil. And it's a pretty big jump right there, right? It's just like 4.43. We went from negative 0.09% to 4.43. So this is a good sign for our markets when you have big numbers like this. I will show you that crude oil chart right here, CL. The overall theme has been down, but if you notice, May started at a relatively low point. So it's still drifting lower. Don't let the monthly data fool you. It's still drifting lower. It does not look great from a trend perspective. I will reiterate, I am still of the opinion we're going to see more downside movement on crude oil. What is noteworthy, and I will draw it out for you guys here. You notice right around, I'm gonna do it from the body, not the tails. I know it's going to create a slightly different appeal. Let me turn the snap off here. You notice it feels like it's forming an inverse head and shoulder. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to. It just means that it looks like it. And based off of that, and I'll continue to draw this for everybody. Let me put it in lock mode. And so you go from there. It's tough because the tail went all the way down, but I'll just do the bodies. And yes, this is technical analysis where you just torture the chart long enough, it'll tell you whatever you want to hear. So we could modify this a little bit, and if you look at these lines I'm drawing on your screen now, I don't know why it's not locking. Come on, lock. There we go. There is your head right there, and your shoulder is currently being formed. So, it looks like we're kind of in the works of having this inverse head and shoulder here, and it doesn't mean it's going to come true. It just means that it looks like it's forming, and again, anything can happen here. I am definitely in the camp, as you guys know, of more bearishness for crude oil just based off of supply that OPEC is talking about, based off of the drill baby drill. It just seems like prices are going to continue to drift lower, which of course Trump wants, and he would basically say, this is because of me. Oil prices are down, and look what I did. That's part of the agenda. And we've got this long trending downtrend line that goes back to the peak from January 16th, connects through that peak on April 2nd. We don't have a third point for confirmation yet, but still trending down and looking rather bearish, even though it was up 4.4% for the month of May. All right, continue moving up. The 10-year yield. This is not good, right? Seeing the yield increase by 5.66% is a sign that interest rates are rising, and that's not good. And by the way, that comes off the heels of a pretty significant sell-off at the very tail end of this, right? Very tail end of the month here, starting from the 21st of May, we saw a significant drop in yields. And the question is, where do we go from here? This level that we drew, I actually drew it out a couple days ago, expecting it to come back down to 4.4%. If it does hit that 4.4, which it did today, it does essentially mean we're staying within this trend line. These stupid charts on TradingView. I'll go through the tails here. If you go through the tails, we are literally right at the exact point where it should bounce. If you're using old school technical analysis. So I went the tail point that is back here from April 4th. We connected that to make a line from this low here on May 1st. And notice today we bounced right off it on the 30th. So if anything, there should be a little bit of a bounce here. It looks like a shorter term trend. I'll be much more vocal about this one when we start to get up towards this blue line where I think it'll ultimately sell off, which should be right around that 4.7 yield if the trends continue like this. So all in all, that 10-year, big waves, big swings. It looks like we're in this kind of cone formation or pennant formation going sideways. Great month. 5.66% increase in the yield, which remember is not good for housing and not good for markets. All right, number 4. I think we're up to number 4 now. I'm making it happen. Make it happen. Russell 2000, 5.76% gain for the Russell for the month, and today was down 0.47%. Let me zoom in here a little bit on this bad boy. We drew that trend line in, which I have it going through the peak, and if you go through the peak, it should be right there. We still have not broken that downward trend line. And ultimately for me, while I like trend lines, I think they're psychological and they can help. I'm much more interested in this yellow box here, which is between 2,105 and 2,125. So a 20-point range there. I'm more concerned and interested in actual supply and demand zones as opposed to a trend line. But people use them so often, it is nice to use trend lines just to see what other people are looking at. And notice that if we got a big rally on Monday, for example, it's going to take us somewhere right to that trend line and that yellow box, kind of coinciding perfectly. So all in all, Russell still looking weak, even though it's up 5.79% for the month. Trend still looks weaker to me, and my bias would be to the downside. Well, it is to the downside. Next, podium time. S&P 500 actually tying the Russell for third place here. So we've got double. Oh boy, we got double tie here for third place. That's fine. Russell and S&P at 5.79%. Here is your S&P on the day, just barely down 0.11. I Thought it would go down much more. I was waiting this morning, and unfortunately, I bailed just before it broke the lows of yesterday. Just had meetings, and it dragged me away. And this is why bracket trading is so good. If you do bracket trading or OCO orders or OSO orders, you can put your entry, stop loss, price target, and go do what you want to do. I didn't do that today, and if you look at the 5-minute time frame here, really kind of kicking myself because it was such a great trade. I've had levels mapped out here, but if you go to the low of yesterday, come on, Merlin, you can see on this chart, this white box is what I'm concerned with. So that's the 29th on Thursday. That low point that we achieved yesterday before having a big bounce was 5,884. And I was using that as a break point. If we got below that, I'm interested in going short. And notice what happened on today's action. We came down to it, but knifed through this thing. This was right around 9:30 Pacific time, so 3 hours into the trading day, and just had a pretty significant fall from there, a nice almost 30-point drop. And unfortunately, I did not have a bracket order in there, or I would have caught some of that. I caught none. Really kind of frustrating when you end the day like that, going, I had it right there, I had it all mapped out, and it still didn't work. It didn't execute on me. Bummer. I'm sure some of you have had those types of issues, right? Toby says the glass is half full. Stay positive. We're getting there. There's an iceberg forming on the cube, but we'll just keep taking sips in between turns. Yeah, and Margaret says S&P turned around and it was not at any demand zone. Right, they don't have to, right? What we're looking for typically is just a high probability. So I'm just going to, let's just do this. We'll go and put that line right there, and I'm just going to zoom it out. The only reason I'm doing this is to just say, was there something that may have caught the attention of that one? And you could contend that this low point here, but it's after hours. I don't put a lot of emphasis on after hours trading. I know some people do. And of course, in hindsight, we could have looked and said, oh, well, that's why it bounced from this after hours low here on the 26th. Not for me, right? I definitely don't, I don't like to use the after hours unless there was big volume on it. So we could add volume on here. And if you saw like this move up that happened on the 26th at 8:45 at night Pacific time, if there were, you got no volume there. Not good. You guys are spinning? Great. I got Lisa and Margaret spinning. Wheel of Death, three of you? Great. This is what happens when you have people using your internet. 1 second here. Long one this time? Bummer. Well, unfortunately, so as you guys know, I put this on, it's called ultra low latency, which means you guys are pretty much getting this real time without any issues. I got you all today. I have people here at my house using my internet. No, it's here at the house. So that's the Wi-Fi being utilized. Probably downstairs playing music and video games and watching Netflix at the same time, killing my internet. So, all right. Yeah, I wish my dog could use the internet. Get him trained. All right. Well, I will just cut right to the chase on the stuff and less fluff today, so we can wrap it up before I torture you guys too much. So sorry about that. Anyway, yeah, I'm not a big fan of after hours unless I see big high volume spikes on it. But I know some people do love the after hours, which is fine. Dakota, this is from Huntington Beach. I showed it here just a second ago, but this is called Pierside from Surf City Steelworks. It's a really small little distillery here in Huntington Beach. It's okay. Not the best I've ever had, but, for a Friday, it does the job. All right, we're almost at the top. Almost at the top, and then we'll talk about a couple stories. We'll high-five each other and wrap it up. I see the spinning wheels probably coming back. So our second place, and honestly, a monster finish. 8.26% move for the upside for the NASDAQ. This is great day. I mean, a great month. Now, for the day, we were down 0.15%, but we talked about this a couple days ago, or maybe a week ago, on how that Magnificent Seven was pulling this bad boy up. At one point today, we had a fairly decent down day. I mean, I'll bring the exact numbers out here for you guys. At one point today, the NASDAQ was down 2.12%. I mean, it was looking pretty bad. And then all of a sudden came roaring back. To finish down just 0.15 is actually a really good day. I mean, that's a big rally off the bottom. So NASDAQ on the weekly, though. Let's take a peek at that weekly chart or monthly. We've we've had this incredible swings over the past 3 months, right? These have been just 3 incredible months. Of course, thank you, President Trump, and all your actions, because you're creating volatility for us and it creates opportunity, which I love it. Now, where do we go from here? It looks like, if I had to just go only off the price chart and nothing to do with what the symbol is, it looks to me like this is going to rocket higher, right? Because you've had this impulse, which I'm going to go back to for the viewers or for the listeners, back to March of 2020. I'm on a monthly time frame here. March of 2020, you had this huge rip, and it just rallied all the way on a monthly basis until November of 2021. So a year and a half of nothing but monthly rally. Then we sold off for about a year, right? We sold off all the way to October of 2022. Then we had a huge rally from October of 2022 to December of 2024, almost non-stop rally for 2 years. Then all of a sudden, we had a significant sell-off to those lows we had here in early April. It does feel like that slingshot, right? Impulse correction, impulse correction, impulse correction. That to me is like one of the cornerstones of my trading. And you look at the move from September of 2022, that's your impulse, all the way to the high of December of 24. Our corrective phase just happened, and it feels like liftoff again. Now, as we know, our current commander-in-chief can say anything that could cause these markets to go absolutely wild one direction or the other. So it looks great from a pure technical perspective, move to the upside, but who knows what may happen going forward. It's been a great month. Let's keep it there. All right, let's move on to, am I doing Elliot Wave? Margaret, don't you get me started, Margaret. Don't you start on a Friday. Look, Elliot Wave, as you guys know, is it's belief that things move in big cycles. And I do believe that, but Elliot Wave makes it so cookie cutter. It's like, oh, look, 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. It's super easy. I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. I do believe that every move up is an impulse, or sharp move up is an impulse or corrective phase. And we're spinning. If you look at everything in its core building block, which is simple movement, right? Elliot Wave says, let's tie together this massive picture of price. And it could be so many different moves. And for me, I don't worry about the whole picture. I really want to focus right here where it says, we have a short-term impulse move and a corrective phase. Now, this is a monthly chart that we're looking at. So you can see the big impulse move up and the corrective phase down, right? Now, if I switch this over to a daily, obviously we have a whole different set of impulse and corrective phases. I'd argue we are in a big impulse phase. We just had a corrective phase right here from May 19th through May 23rd. And now it feels like we're headed for another impulse phase, which in my opinion should take us back to that overhead supply on the NASDAQ 100 at 22,224. So yeah, there we go. Not an Elliott Wave practitioner, but I do like the basic building blocks of Elliott Wave, but I think it's a waste of your time to go, oh, it's a grand cycle, super cycle, mega cycle, 1, 2, 3, ABC. Ugh, leave it alone. All right, thanks for getting me all riled up, Margaret. It's your fault. All right, number one, and I'm happy about this. I think several of you are as well. Bitcoin had a pretty good month, 11.13%. Now, it has certainly had some very interesting price moves here recently. I had mentioned how I do expect it to come back down to this demand zone right around 102,000 to 104,000, and we got pretty darn close to it today. Our low point today was 104,225, so still not technically in that zone yet. And I know that some people have messaged me kind of freaking out that Bitcoin's falling. It's like, how can you freak out on this little move from the peak here on the 22nd to where we close at today? Bitcoin's down 6%. People are starting to freak out a little bit. It's like, why? Where were you? I didn't see you celebrating when you rallied 46% in 32 days. So, you just got to understand this has wild swings. 6% is nothing for this bad boy. So I actually think this is one of the better looking charts. And the reason I think this is better looking is we broke to the all-time highs. We're now going to do a retest. And then ideally, we would retest this next week. And then maybe in the next week or two, we break through all-time highs again. And then we go into uncharted territory and big moves to the upside. So we shall see. That's what I'm optimistic for happening. And that, my friends, is your month of May results. Honestly, a great May. This is no sell in May and go away, right? That is really important. And as Margaret says, Bitcoin did not break the higher low. Correct. And that certainly would be the number we're looking at, right? We're looking at that yellow box is kind of it's not even really a high or low. It's just consolidated, right? It didn't really like drop down. You can make the same argument for the $95,000 mark, but I don't think we'll get down there. I think that there's just way too much positivity back in Bitcoin. And I've been saying that for a long time. So at some point I'll be right. All right, let's go to what else is happening out there. One little piece here that I thought was interesting, and unfortunately I don't have the data. Maybe I do from Forest Factory. I was looking at a headline today about the manufacturing number coming out from China. And what was interesting about this is they were talking about their PMI numbers, which is Purchasing Managers Index. And basically, it's a survey of manufacturers over there talking about how they feel about the economy and business in general. And they dropped below 50. Remember, China is manufacturing, right? That's like the main industry there. We're not. We're services here in the United States. We do some manufacturing, but our backbone is services. China is the other way. China is manufacturing is their backbone. And to see manufacturing in China under 49 does speak volumes to this trade war and tariff war having a big impact. Now, obviously, we're backpedaling a little bit here. We've got the International Trade Court saying, oh, you can't have the tariffs. The appeals court saying you can't have the tariffs. You know, we're back to shrugging our shoulders, not knowing which way this market's going to go. But the numbers aren't lying. It's definitely hurting China from the manufacturing side, which is not a good thing for the global economy, right? We obviously want to have China do well because that means we're consuming and the markets are doing well as a global whole. So I thought that was an interesting piece for the day, which popped up that I didn't have a graphic here for you. I wish I did. Liz says, it won't be until next month that we know whether sell in May or go away would have worked by selling into May. True. It's funny, Liz. I was just about to go and open some short positions today and hold those for 3 months and do the sell in May, go away thing. It's just the charts just kind of tell me we're not headed down unless something wicked happens with tariffs and Trump. I think the markets are fine. If you look at we'll get to the inflation numbers here in just a second. Inflation was actually pretty good. Inflation numbers look great today. So let's go into this one here. I mentioned that I think one of the big challenges facing the market will be what happens with Google. What happens when they get split up? So obviously, some of you are following the case probably more deeply than I am, but the antitrust case with Google is coming to a close, and now it's up to the judge on what to do with Google. And there is definitely talk about Google or Alphabet having to sell off its browser, so Chrome gets sold off, and then also different issues with their data, right? How they collect advertising dollars, these exclusive partnerships like this multi-billion-dollar deal with Apple, that might get broken apart. But this could be, number one, a significant capital hit to Google just because now they have to restructure their business with whole new variables that are going to change. And that brings in a swath of uncertainty to Google, which I don't think anyone wants to be a part of. Now, looking at Google's chart, it actually looks okay. Knowing that you've got this antitrust going on, knowing that it's, Memon says, Chrome is as bad as Internet Explorer. No way. Okay, Chrome's a hog, right? Chrome is a hog. It definitely makes up a lot of resources. Internet Explorer, just like, I can't believe that thing, it never worked. It was always faulty for me. So, look, there's better browsers out there. I know, and especially if you want privacy, you have Brave, you've got DuckDuckGo are also ones that are good, but performance is a key issue. So, if that, in fact, does get announced over the next few weeks, I don't think it'll be this week, but I think it will be in maybe a month or so, there will be some decision on what will happen with Google, and that could cause some pretty significant moves. So I'd be careful if you guys are long Google. I'm not going to put my hat in that arena and go long or short. It's just too uncertain. I just do expect there to be some volatility. And remember, they're part of that Magnificent Seven group. So it could certainly have an impact on the NASDAQ 100, although it's not the top weighted component. It's certainly down the list, but it is bigger than some of the other ones. Andre says it's better to use Bing. So I've heard. I'm not a big Microsoft fan, but I hate to admit it, I use Google Chrome. It's just why? Ease of convenience. And they're saying that a lot of that may have to go away, the convenience pieces, where you have automatic registration at different websites because it brings you into their specific ecosystem. So some of these things are going to change here in the near future for Alphabet. It can't be good. right? If you've established your whole business off this advertising model and browser and search and data and analytics, and you've got it down to a science, that's why it's rallied so much. And all of a sudden, you have to redo the way that functions, change your business model. That cannot be good. And again, I think that you could see Google go significantly lower if the judge does in fact break them up and put really heavy split terms on them. Yeah, not good. Steven says, having owned Google for years, maybe buy some protected puts. It'd be a worthy investment. If I was long Google and had some big gains and I didn't want to sell Google, I would buy protected puts. Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, in the next couple weeks, you're going to get some verdict from this judge, and who knows which way it's going to go. All right, let's see. You can see we're getting to maybe we should do a show on browsers because it's definitely touching a nerve with people. Like Mamon's like, bing, blah. Love it. All right, what else do we have out there? I wanted to bring this up, and I did mention it earlier. You know, the S&P 500 had its best May in 30 years. Now, I guess we could real quickly look at the chart here and say, well, let's play devil's advocate. If we go out to a monthly time frame here, and you can see, sorry, I have to zoom in so much here. Could you make the argument that the second half of April was probably the best of all time, you know, because of how far it rallied off the lows? But this is the best May in 30 years for the markets. And it's only, you know, 5+%. So thought that was noteworthy. You witnessed a historic day. Toby says, use Perplexity for search. What I'm hoping happens, in the sense we were kind of going into the browser discussion, what I'm hoping happens is I hope that Elon Musk starts up XAI, which will probably be Grok, and makes an announcement that they're going to have privacy in it, just like DuckDuckGo or Brave, where they're not collecting your data. If that happens, then I will 100% move over to that product. Right now, if I use ChatGPT, which I love to use ChatGPT for different things, anything I put in there is now recorded, documented, and used for their algorithm. So you got to be careful if you're putting any personal information in there. I know people scanning medical documents and having ChatGPT analyze it for you. Now your document's part of their database. So, you know, that's not a good thing. YouTube is owned by Google. Yep. Yeah, no, it's like it's all surrounded by these major evil corporations. I say evil. I don't know if there's necessarily malicious intent, but if I could go with the smaller one that gets me all the services and functionality I need, I'd be more than happy to switch over from YouTube or from Google Chrome. And last one. Oh, did I not put that one in there? I have one other picture I need to add in here. Maybe I didn't bring it upstairs. Let me see if I brought it with me today. Oh, I didn't bring it up. I was going to bring over, I had a picture of Elon Musk sitting in the Oval Office, and apparently I didn't save that one for us. As you guys know, no problem, Tennessee. Have a great weekend. Hope you have a great weekend. Do something fun. I know, Margaret, I use different browsers, but I do use Chrome as one of my browsers. I know. And maybe that's why I've got such a bad show with regards to streaming. You know, if you look at how this show is done, it streams through YouTube every day. What other platform can give me that functionality and have everything tied together? That's where they got me, right? I can now have my email, I can have my browsers, I can broadcast directly from there through YouTube. It's all connected. It's so convenient. It's hard to go somewhere else, Margaret. It's hard to go somewhere else. And even if I did go somewhere else, let's say I wanted to broadcast my show, where would I broadcast it to? I know I can broadcast to X, and maybe that's a solution, is go and do X every day. There's also analytics and payment that I receive. So you guys know I've changed this model recently. And the model is, at least the way I have it set up, is if you're here watching the live show on YouTube, I don't have any ads anymore, right? I guess I'm incentivizing you guys to come watch the live show. The moment that the show ends and I put it on YouTube, I do click ads. And, you know, may as well earn a couple of dollars for my efforts. And just so you know, the earnings for the month of May was $50 in ad revenue. So, woohoo! We got an hour show live. Let's see, how many shows? We do 5 a week. So let's call it 20 shows a month. 20 shows, I made $5. So I make about 40 cents per show. Not too bad. Not too bad. All right. Elon Musk part. I don't know if you guys saw Elon Musk had a black eye, and all of a sudden everyone's saying now he's a druggie and all this. I mean, it's just kind of crazy. But he's stepping down. Now, I think that this is actually a good thing. You have a team in place with this DOGE. If you're a believer in the whole DOGE product, meaning, let's get all the wasteful spending out of government, fine. I think those pieces are in place. It's good that Elon Musk goes back to work and focuses on his business. Focuses on his business. And I, for one, if I was a shareholder, I'd be very happy about this. If you look at the month of May for Tesla was a 24% gainer for the month. So far eclipsing what happened with the equity markets. And I think that this was a lot of people anticipating Musk's return and grabbing the bull by the horns, making sure that the auto robotaxi day goes fantastic and the release goes well. Also making sure that the robot side of things goes well. And, Elon's been very vocal saying that, in his opinion, the robots will be the biggest selling item of all time. And I believe so. I will own one. I'm hoping I have one here very, very soon. Oh, the Marcone memes. Yeah, him and his wife. Yeah, well, I'll leave that one alone. Yeah, poor Marcone. He's become the butt of every country's memes. Pretty funny. Mamon says, can you cast to YouTube and X at the same time? I can't with the platform that I use. There are some other platforms that are paid. So I use a software that's open source to stream all the shows. It gives me a lot of functionality with what I can do. If I use pre-made packages, there's depending on the package you use, they can go to multiple sites, but they can be rather expensive. I have much more creativity with this platform that I use. Let's see. That's Super Bowl ad money. Yeah, right. Why do you turn on ads during the show? Get some money. Because I find it's kind of an annoyance. And I know, I guess I'm empathizing with you guys as the viewers. Like, you're here, you folks are the regulars that are here every day. And I guess the reward is that I do this for you every day, right? I guess that's the reward, is if you want to put it that way. But I don't know. I had ads during the show, and it made me an extra $200 a month, which, it pays for the web hosting and also for the to upload the podcast and stuff like that. But I'm not doing this for the money. It would be nice if all of a sudden this took off and I could just do this every day for a living. That'd be pretty fun. But this is a passion project. They say if you love what you do, it's not working, and it kind of feels like that to me. Let's see what else we have here. Trump said he will be going back and forth, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that he's going to be using Elon Musk a little bit more, just not every day and all this stuff, Elon Musk, from a business perspective, probably has a good way to run this country. It could hurt a lot of people's feelings, I'm sure. There is a lot of wasteful, not just spending, but I know personally I have a couple friends who are in the government, and they tell me they don't really do much. It's like, well, then why aren't you fired? Right, get out of there. Jim has, it's just that I have no, I did very well in Tesla this month. Good. If you're a long investor, great. Tesla looks absolutely fantastic. And, I think when another couple months, I think we're going to hear a greater discussion about SpaceX and SpaceX doing an IPO. My guess is that will probably happen next year. And that, in my opinion, might be one of the biggest valuation IPOs ever. He's doing all the Starship launches, and you've got Starlink, of course, which is a great. I think Starlink alone, if he became the dominant internet provider for the globe, remember, this isn't just U.S., he's got satellites everywhere. I think just off the satellite network that he's building would be a monstrously profitable business. But then you add in the fact that he's launching Starship, and I've been watching all the launches. So you saw Starship's launch. He launches out here from Vandenberg Air Force Base all the time, Starlink rockets, satellites, etc. If he lands on the moon, I believe they're talking about, is it next year? I think 2026 or 27, they're talking about getting people back on the moon. The moment that happens and SpaceX goes, yeah, we did that and we're going to Mars, all of a sudden, I think the value just explodes exponentially. There still is a large group of people that believe... there's a large group of people that believe that the lunar landing was a hoax. I don't know if we have anybody that's that old that was there watching when we first walked on the moon. I'm curious, what do you guys think? Let's do a poll. Why not? I haven't done a poll in a while. Start a poll. Was the lunar landing a hoax? There you go. Was the lunar landing, the original lunar landing, when we landed on the moon, was that a hoax? What do you guys think? I'm curious. It's interesting because you see so many conspiracy theorists are talking about, oh, if you play it back in slow motion, you can see this, and look, you can see the studio set over here and the lights. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. A conspiracy theorist will try to convince you of everything with very pointed data. For example, we have flat earthers. Flat earthers. I'm like, okay, I get that you believe the Earth's flat. Have you ever been in an airplane? Like, the moment you take off and you look and you can see the curvature of the Earth, it's pretty clear that we are on a round object, right? Plus, a big square piece of paper flying through space doesn't have consistency to it. There would be no repetitive actions if you were a piece of paper or a tile flying through space. It would be wobbly and anything could disrupt it. A ball is much smoother and gets currents and can have predictability to it. So yeah, ask Bud Alden, he punched the guy about it. All right, let me see what you guys said. Well, we got a couple people that think it was a hoax. 18% of you thought it was a hoax and 82% of you thought it was real. I think it's real, but here's the reason why I believe there's an air of truth to maybe it's a hoax. If we landed on the moon with the electronics and technology that they had back then, but we haven't been back, I don't know. It seems to me like getting there would be so much easier today than it was back then. I mean, those rocket ships were crazy inefficient. It's just a marvel that they made it up there in the first place. So, I don't know. Either way, I'm excited for the next one because I'll be sitting here with my telescope the day that thing goes up to the moon. I'll see if I can spot them when they land on the moon. And then, of course, there's the whole talk about China on the dark side of the moon. And what are they doing on the dark side of the moon? Are they building some crazy nuclear base up there? I mean, who knows what on earth's going on up there? I literally found out, maybe it was just very recently, that the face of the moon that we see never changes. I always thought that the moon was rotating a little bit. Nope. Stationary axis. We see the same face every time, so we'll never see the dark side of the moon. Kind of crazy to me. Liv Frem says robots will run the moon. It will at first, but there will be some human element up there. And I think it would be kind of fun one day to fly to the moon, spend a weekend on the moon, and just sit there and, look back at Earth. That would just be surreal. Maybe. That's right, Oliver. Dark side of the moon, looking for the Transformers. I mean, none of us can tell what's on the other side, right? Unless you get a ship that flies past the dark side of the moon to look at the dark side of the moon, we won't know it's there because it never rotates. No problem, Liz. Have a good. I'm going to wrap up here soon anyway. The worst part is that they taped over the original videos for the reruns of MASH. Funny. Testing extreme cold temperature of the dark. I'm sure that's part of it. Is how cold is it on that dark side of the moon if it never gets sunlight? Oof. We needed wins over the Soviets back then, but I think that there was a real deal. I agree with you. I think it was real, but I'll never know for certain. All right, we'll never know. I hear they're mining helium. Well, that's funny. We can land on the moon anytime we want to now. We have a flying space station. We have people living on it. I agree, Stephen, but why not go back to the moon and find ways to... I'm not talking about colonizing the moon, right? That would be silly. But there are things that we could do from the moon that might help the betterment of Earth. I don't know. Research stuff. I don't know. Just seems like we should be there. Anyway. All right. I'm going to wrap up here because now we're going down rabbit holes of just awkward stuff. And it's Friday. I'm going to finish my glass of whiskey and go have some fun. So I hope that you guys do as well. Plus, I got to take my pup to get some shots. As far as Monday goes, there's nothing on the economic calendar. Ooh, hold up. Wait. Monday, we do have a big announcement. And as you guys know, we had our core PCE price index numbers come out today at 0.1, in line with expectations. This is great news for anyone who feels the Fed is going to cut rates. If we get this next, let's bring up the fundamentals here, or the numbers. So let's look at our Friday core PCE price index numbers. This will mark the second time. We were at 0 last month for April. We were at 0.1 for this month. Okay, that's great. Now the question is, where do we go with the next month? I believe that the next month will be the determining factor. If we get one more month of sub 0.2, preferably 0.1 or lower, then what that means to me is Jerome Powell will be focusing on one other piece of data. That piece of data is, you all know, the unemployment number, which happens next Friday. And here's the unemployment number right here. Expectations are 4.2%. It's not rising dramatically. It feels like it's plateaued a little bit here. So if we get unemployment to stay at 4.2, CPI staying at 0.1 or lower, then what that means is Jerome Powell is probably going to cut rates. He's definitely data dependent, but those are two of the pieces he's following, and they look really good right now. Now, we had the core PCE price index numbers come out today. On Monday, Jerome Powell will be giving a presentation, and it's a long-winded, there's a lot of words to it, so I'll read it to you as we go. But Jerome Powell's speaking at 1 p.m. Eastern time, so that'll be 3 hours before the market closes. He's speaking at the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, He's speaking at the Federal Reserve Board of Governors International Finance Division 75th anniversary. There we go. So, yep, sorry, we're back to the charts here. So that's where he's speaking. And again, now that he has this core PCE number, he might say something. We're happy to see changes, right? If he softens his tone a little bit, markets are probably going to rejoice, expecting there to be a rate cut here soon. Now, the probability right now, as I showed you here, we still have a 39% chance of 2 rate cuts by the end of the year. No chance at the June 18th meeting. Well, 5% chance that we get it at the June 18th meeting, but I don't think that'll happen. It looks like the probability shifts to September is really when markets are pricing in the first cut. And that makes sense, right? I think we need to wait a couple more months of inflation data, a couple more months of jobs data, and then we can make our opinion about where things are going to go. So that's it. I want to wrap up. Hope you guys had a fantastic week. Thank you for joining us today. Sorry for the technical issues. I might change the latency on my feed so it's not as choppy, but sorry for the spinning wheels today. If you guys have something you want me to talk about on Monday's show, email me at tradermerlin@gmail.com or put your comments down below any of our YouTube videos. That said, thank you very much. And our community out there, who's we got? Ketut, you were number 1. Steve Wolf, number 2. And Flui, you were number 3 as far as the most active community members today. Thank you guys for your participation. Take care. Have a great weekend. I will see you on Monday.